Most are picking Gastelum to win this fight. Completely understandable. This isn't TRT Vitor. He's 39 years old, and he's 2-3 in his last 5 fights, with all 3 losses coming by way of TKO. Kelvin, on the other hand, he's 25 years old, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, but both losses are split decisions, with one of them to current welterweight champion Tyron Woodley. His other split decision loss was to Neil Magny, a fight where Kelvin rallied late in rounds 4 and 5. To put it simply, the perception of this fight is that Vitor is on his way out and Kelvin is on his way up. The odds reflected as Kelvin is heavily favored, but there are a few points I'd like to touch on. First, this fight is in Brazil. Kelvin has traveled outside the United States to Canada and Mexico for several UFC fights, but hasn't gone overseas yet. Obviously, Vitor is from Brazil. He's very familiar with the country despite residing in Florida now. From what I understand, Fortaleza is tourist friendly, so Kelvin probably won't have any issues adjusting there, but it is very humid year-round, so that could play a factor for both guys. There could be any number of factors that Kelvin may have to deal with considering it's his first fight overseas. Vitor has only lost once in Brazil, and that was to Jacare Souza. Nothing terribly important here, but I figured it was worth noting. Second, this is a southpaw versus southpaw matchup, meaning neither of these fighters will enjoy the open stance advantages they usually have. For Vitor, it's all about the left straight and the following head kick. He really wants to condition his opponents to parry the left straight or drop their guard from body kicks so he can come up high with the head kick. His favored counters are the right hook and left uppercut. Vitor has always been a counter striker who does very well reading his opponents and exploiting openings very quickly. That still holds true to this day. In his recent fight against Mousasi, he caught his kick on a dime and bombed him with a straight left. But in that fight, Mousasi beat Vitor at his own game and caught him with a head kick. The difference in this fight is that in the southpaw versus southpaw matchup, I think we'll see a lot more attacks off the lead hand, and the spinning heel kick will probably be a factor too. If you remember with Vitor against Luke Rockhold, and he caught him with that spinning heel kick. I anticipate him showing it and feinting it. Other than Anderson Silva, he's been able to finish all southpaws he's matched up with. Rockhold, Rich Franklin, Matt Lindland was one of his best knockouts, a really scary one. It's on Fight Pass. Definitely worth a watch. Vitor gets a lot of shit, but I think for 39 years old, he still has very good reflexes, good reads and timing, and power's the last to go, and he's still very powerful. Obviously, I still think he's dangerous. Third, the direction this fight takes is dependent upon Gastelum. He's usually the aggressor in his fights, pushing a good pace, and Vitor likes to sit back and find his openings. So I'm looking to see what range Kelvin will operate at. Will he take the Mousasi approach and kickbox with pressure, or maybe he's going to take the Jacare approach and not risk standing with Vitor at all? Judging how Kelvin usually fights, he's probably going to keep a high pace, staying light on his feet, going in and out of range, and picking Vitor apart. That route is the more risky path, I think, but Kelvin has been very durable so far, never been finished, and he can always fall back to his wrestling in case his situation gets dicey. He also has excellent conditioning and probably can keep a more consistent pace over the course of 5 rounds than Vitor can. Fourth, and my final main thing to point out, is the last time Kelvin fought an explosive counter-striker was Tyron Woodley. And one could say Johnny Hendricks at UFC 200, but I'm still not sure what to make of Hendricks. But against Tyron, he had trouble getting through his defenses and finding his range. Vitor is taller, he does have the reach advantage. He also used to fight at light heavyweight, so I'm curious to see how he handles that. My hunch is that Kelvin will stay safe at the very beginning of the fight, staying out of range, light on his feet, engage distance with his kicks until he feels comfortable throwing his jab out there. Remember, Kelvin has great kicks and an excellent jab, one of his finest weapons. He used it very well against Johnny Hendricks, another southpaw versus southpaw matchup. He also completely dismantled Rick Story, and it all stemmed from the jab. Keeping an active jab may leave him exposed to certain attacks, including the spinning heel kick we talked about, but I think Gastelum's footwork will keep him safe for the most part, and his chin is the failsafe, I'd assume. I also see body kicks being successful against Vitor, as opponents have found that opening several times in the past. It won't be as simple to hit the inside body kick, but if Kelvin is able to set up a switch kick, I would imagine that he'll find a home for it. Now, if you go back and watch my breakdown of Kennedy versus Gastelum, I was confident Kelvin would win. Kennedy posed some threats, but nothing that Kelvin couldn't handle. I feel like Vitor possesses more dangerous weapons with higher consequence than Kennedy did, and that can be debated, it's just my opinion. Vitor is a finish or get finished style of fighter. Hasn't been to a decision since September of 2007. The closest was his fight with John Jones, where it made it to the 4th round where he tapped out to an Americana. But he's just a dangerous guy regardless, and I enjoy watching Vitor's fights, and I think this will be an excellent bout. Very much looking forward to it. For my UFC Brazil picks, make sure to follow me on Twitter at RapidMMA. The link is in the description. Thank you for watching.